Pam Bondi says you are fired. Get out. Not a Minnesota problem, but a blue state problem. We'll talk about that. And welcome to the year of the horse. Chinese New Year's coming up. This is a big one, the Year of the Horse. We'll tell you a little bit about it if you don't know. Welcome to the Jay Sheldon Show. That would be this guy. And thank you so much to all the folks in the chat here wishing me a happy birthday. Indeed, yes, it is my birthday. I am 104 years old, or at least I feel that way. It's been a great day so far. Really appreciate your wishes. Thank you so much for that. Really, really appreciate that. It means a lot to me. Yeah, so we're celebrating it together. You and I, just you and I hanging out. We got a full show going on today. Man, I'm telling you. Right off the bat, we are going to take a sip of Blackout coffee. Ah, because it's just that good. Folks, do not be putting up with these other companies who hate you, who support lefty ideas. Blackout coffee is an absolute lifesaver. Uh, Seriously, it is just the best coffee on the planet. You got to give it a try. They are having a big deal right now called the Flavor Fest. There you go. Look at that. Buy one flavored coffee and you get one at half off. That is a deal. Wow. Check it out. Look at that. You go to the link in our show notes, you can find more on this particular deal. Look at that. The chocolate, the coconut, the blueberries, the cherries, the cinnamon. Is that cinnamon or vanilla? I think that's a vanilla stick. Pods, yep, they got coffee pods too. You can order look at this, cherry jelly donuts, salted caramel mocha. Cinnamon French toast is one of my favorites. The double dark chocolate, also absolutely amazing. Candy cane, peppermint mocha, all those great holiday flavors are still available. And now, by the way, you can get your beans ground. They will grind them for you. So you don't have to say, nah, I can't do that because I don't want to get beans. I can't grind them. No more excuses. Pitch Black Espresso, that's my number one. I drink that all the time. And yes, you can now, the option is that you can have it ground or whole beans. And it's just the best stuff on earth. If you are a first-time buyer, you want to give it a try, you use the code J20, and that will get you 20% off your first order at Blackout Coffee. Head over there and get yourself a bag. Give it a try. Blackout Coffee supports this show. We want to support them because they support us. They are a conservative group of people over there, John Santos and the gang, so they are concerned about things like the First and Second Amendment, the right to life, our first responders, big supporters of our military, and a great group of people too, so help to support them and this show. Blackout Coffee, links in the show notes. Use that link, and don't forget, first-time buyer, you can use the code J20 for 20% off your first order. All right. Happy birthday to the best father and in-law, Dad, Papa, Mike's dad, Big Mike, 60th birthday. Today, same as me. Ha! Fantastic. Happy birthday to Big Mike. All right. Pam Bondi's not putting up with any crap. You know, we accuse her of being a bit milquetoast and not moving fast enough in a lot of cases. Well, not this time. Holy crap. Attorney General Pam Bondi reveals she has fired 6 DOJ prosecutors in Minnesota because they no longer support ICE. Yeah. Prosecutors. Minnesota. They don't support ICE. They demand that taxpayers, however, pay for a vacation for them before they leave. She says, I fired them all. They are fired from the office. 6 prosecutors suddenly decided they don't like ICE anymore. One was doing a photo shoot with the New York Times while ICE was out there risking their lives. And one of these prosecutors is out with the Times doing a photo shoot. Unbelievable. Good riddance. Here is Ms. Bondi.
In Minnesota. What happened in Minnesota? We had 6 prosecutors who suddenly decided they didn't want to support the men and women in ICE. One of them was busy doing a photo shoot with the New York Times while ICE was out there risking their lives. So they came, they said, we want to resign, but we want to use our annual leave up until April, meaning they wanted the taxpayers to pay for them to go on vacation because they decided they didn't want to support law enforcement. So the breaking news tonight, I fired them all. They're fired from the office. And our U.S. attorney there, Rosen, he's great. He was just confirmed 3 months.
You're done. You're cooked. You're fired. Get out. I love this. I'm warming up to this woman. I was a little cold on her because she just doesn't seem to be moving forward as fast as we'd like. But this is pretty fast. Man, 6 prosecutors, all gone. Sorry, don't support what we do here. You're out of a job. Bye-bye. Have a nice time. I love it. I absolutely loves it. All right. Nick Shirley strikes again. Oh, yeah, here we go. And it got a little heated, to say the least. He's dropped a second bombshell video exposing more rampant fraud, of course, in Minnesota. Investigative journalist Nick Shirley has set the internet on fire a day after Christmas when he posted that original video detailing all that Somali fraud going on, right under the noses of Governor Walz, of course, and Representative Oman, Gopher State Senator Amy Klobuchar. This absolutely fearless young man with a camera and a microphone went around to a whole bunch of supposed Minneapolis daycares, and they were getting oodles, gobs, bucket loads of federal money. Look, I know a lot of you know this. I'm just reviewing it, so in case a few people may not know what the first one was all about. There were no kids at these daycare centers, no signs of life at any of those daycare centers. And now he's back with a second video released yesterday afternoon. The tweet he put up said, after my last video exposing over $110 million in fraud, Tim Walz dropped his run for re-election, and multiple federal investigations were launched to stop fraud across the country. In this 51-minute video, David and I expose another $16 million in fraud that has to come for the fraudsters and corrupt politicians who have let this happen. The fraud must end. At the beginning of this new video just released yesterday, he looks back on the impact his first exposure had and the blowback he got. Says it became the most viewed video expose on the internet, created instant change within the government as the feds sent thousands of federal agents to Minnesota, and Health and Human Services froze over $185 million in payments to all child care. You know, that's another part of this problem. HHS froze all payments. And sadly, while these Somali daycares were all just a crock of crap, there are some legit daycares who depend on these payments, and they also get affected. So not only are they stealing our tax money, they're also affecting these other daycares who are run by legit people doing legit business and actually providing daycare services, but they are being affected. Of course, they call you names, Nick. That is the modern Democrat response to almost everything anybody on our side does these days. This new clip runs about an hour, and Nick teams up with a man he identifies as a local named David, who describes what he called transportation fraud. Companies sign up to be non-emergency medical transportation entities, over 1,000 of these companies, but when he goes to actually find the companies at their addresses listed on their license, no surprise, they don't exist. He was continuously harassed on the streets He got called Islamophobic, faced threatening characters while trying to simply do his job as an independent reporter. This guy gets downright menacing. Hang on, let me just go full screen on this and give you a show here.
It has nothing to do with race. This is fraud. It's fraud.
This absolutely has to do with us being Muslim.
No, it does not.
All right, and us being from Africa. This is a constitutional argument. If you don't want us here, change the freedom of religion. Say, listen, we don't want Muslims in this country anymore.
We're not saying that.
No.
We're not saying that.
When I go
Sir,
onto
we're
your
talking
comments,
about fraud. When
I go onto your comments,
my comments.
What I see is people that say we do not want Muslims here. Kick every single Muslim in Minnesota out of Minnesota.
That's a comment.
You are You're preparing for the Somali community to maybe be taken to concentration camps, just like the Japanese community. All right, you're sensationalizing.
No, we're not.
All right,
Sir,
something that
answer
can
the question. Where is the transportation vehicle company?
Jeopardize
answer the question.
The safety and the protection of the Somali community.
We're talking about fraud.
If anything happens to the Somali community,
we're talking about fraud.
Listen, I'm not doing anything. I'm not physically touching you.
You're getting very close.
I'm not physically touching you. No, I'm not physically touching you.
This is fraud. We're talking about fraud.
You're
defending fraud. You're
when I go into your comments,
you're defending fraud.
People who hate Muslims want us out of here.
People can say what they want.
Muslim,
I'm not censoring anybody.
Are using your material. Islamophobes use your material. People who hate Islam use your material. Say to us, we don't want you here. Change the Constitution. But guess what? Let me tell you something. Guess what?
Say it. We're asking about fraud.
We're
asking about fraud.
You hate Muslims.
I'm not saying I hate Muslims. We're talking about fraud. We're talking about fraud.
Why are you attacking us?
This
are we
is
the
fraud.
only community that suffers because of fraud?
We're talking about fraud.
Are we the only community that does fraud? Are we the only community that does this?
This is about fraud.
All right, but there's what, 300 Somali providers in all of Minnesota?
Yeah, and that just went on and on from there, and this guy would not shut up, and he got louder and louder as it goes. I'm telling you what, this Nick Shirley guy has some cojones. He's got guts, folks. Keeps walking into the danger zone and just carries on despite the dangers to his own personal safety. Going to be a lot more to discuss after this second video gets out there. It's out there now. It's going viral once again. Man, I'm telling you. The guy, but you know what? Thank God for Nick Shirley. He is putting it out there. He is absolutely putting it out there. And here we go again. A new ICE shooting in Minnesota after alleged attack with a shovel. Oh, yeah. There has been the report, and the details are a little bit sketchy, but another shooting involving ICE in Minneapolis, according to Fox News. Law enforcement sources have, there's been another ICE-involved shooting in Minnesota tonight. This was yesterday. I'm told ICE was making contact with a target who then allegedly assaulted an officer with a shovel or swung a shovel, and shots were fired. Suspect ran back to a house. No info yet if anybody actually was shot. The reporter later confirmed the man was shot. He was Venezuelan, in stable condition, and of course, the activists have already started to gather, because that's what they get paid to do. Immediately had to insert themselves even before all the facts were known. It is absolutely sickening. The video is a little bit garbled, but let me see what we can make out of this.
As it ebbs and flows. So 1 minute, there's a small protest at the federal building. The next minute, these people with whistles and an agenda show up to these different sites across the city. That's what DHS has been saying. What we know right now from our colleague Bill Malusian, who just got off the phone with his federal sources, Sean, is that a man who was a target of an ICE operation from Venezuela, who ICE says was in the country illegally, was a target in this operation here in Minnesota. So they go to the door. That's when they say this Venezuelan migrant held up a shovel, tried to assault one of their agents, and you can hear those chants there in the background as protesters show up. That's when they say use the shovel to try and assault the agent. Shots were fired. This Venezuelan teen, we're told, was shot in the leg, expected to be okay. Bill Malugin telling me there's actually a picture that a source texted him of this guy on a stretcher smiling, kind of giving a thumbs up as he's taken away to the hospital. So we'll get more on what's going on there at the scene. But it's become aggressive here, and I saw it today when I was on the ground with law enforcement here, with ICE agents here in Minnesota. It's something we've been keeping an eye on as it continues to grow. But it comes as the governor here, Tim Walz, who's also under investigation in this huge fraud scheme here, Sean, just told people, hey, these are just our neighbors, and if you see them getting arrested, take out your cell phone and record. Watch.
Armed, masked, undertrained ICE agents are going door to door, ordering people to point out where their neighbors of color live. They're pulling over people indiscriminately, including U.S. citizens, and demanding to see their papers. And if you see these ICE agents in your neighborhood, take out that phone and hit record. Help us create a database of the atrocities against Minnesotans.
This man is a fool, I swear. Hopefully it doesn't get out of control, but you can absolutely count on the left going to spin this for all it's worth. Walz lying his head off about ICE agents urging activists to head out. Sounds like they're surging agents to secure the scene. Very difficult to get any additional information, but we'll try and keep an eye on that. I'm sure more will come out as things progress. Absolutely insane. Insane. Oh, man. Got a bit of a weird one for you, but it's a little bit funny. RFK Jr. talking about President Trump's eating habits. And apparently they're really good and really bad. Take a listen to this. This is brilliant.
Who has the most unhinged eating habits?
The president. The interesting thing about the president is that he eats really bad food, which is McDonald's, and then, candy and Diet Coke. But he drinks the Diet Coke all times. He has the constitution of a deity. I don't know how he's alive, but he is. And he's at Mar-a-Lago. He says that the only time that he eats the junk food is when he's on the road, and he wants to eat food from big corporations because he trusts it. He doesn't want to get sick when he's on the road. But when he's at Mar-a-Lago or at the White House, he's eating really good food. So I think you get this, if you travel with him, you get this idea that he's just pumping himself full of poison all day long, and you don't know how he's walking around, much less being the most energetic person, any of us have ever met.
I love this guy. The favorite line from that is, I don't know how he's alive, but he is. Oh, man. He does like hitting up on the McDonald's, that's for sure. Insane. Oh, man. The lesbian mom who wound up getting unalived. Well, the media has had some questions, but this time they are talking to Renee Good's former father-in-law. Oh, yeah. And he delivers a comment they really were not expecting. We have seen a ton of craziness being pushed by the left in the wake of the Renee Good shooting. A lot of people on social media misstated the laws of the facts of this case, tried to attack the ICE agents, a lot of them falsely terming the incident murder. No, it was self-defense and perfectly legally justifiable. It's like a cult of unreality. I swear, if you go through X, it is insane. These people who are just putting out the bull crap. The left is all sharing these facts in order to prove their belief, which is wrong and confirms each other's bias. The liberal media have been largely feeding that frenzy. They don't care. They love to see it. Agent now in hiding because of exactly that frenzy. Some in the media been downplayed or even outright just denied the evidence that the ICE agent was hit by the car. Some are saying he wasn't even hit. It's on video, you idiots. Yesterday, a new report. The agent had suffered some internal bleeding as a result of not being hit. Wasn't clear what the nature of that bleeding was in the report. Obviously, just one more indication the agent was hit. But when CNN interviewed the former father-in-law of Good, Timmy Macklin, I don't think they half expected or at all expected what they got. Macklin, father of Good's ex-husband, who died back in 2023 and with whom she had had her son, who is now 6 years old. Aaron Burnett asked about the investigation in the case, possibly involving Renee and Rebecca Good's actions. Sounded like she was hoping or anticipating some kind of angry response directed at the government, but that's not what she got. Macklin said he didn't blame anybody, including the ICE agents. Renee Good's former father-in-law refuses to blame ICE agents for her death on CNN. Do we have that? Yeah, we have that clip here. Let's play that for you.
I want to ask you about this. When you talk about the confusion, and you've been open, obviously, about your support for the president, when you look at the videos of what happened, and I'm sure they're very hard for you, Timmy, to watch if you've even been able to, but the Deputy Attorney General says that the Justice Department doesn't believe that there's evidence to back a criminal investigation, right? And nothing about charges or anything like that, just an investigation into what happened in terms of the ICE agents' actions. But they were, according to the prosecutors resigning today, pressuring them to investigate Renee's actions and Becca, her wife's actions. How do you feel about all that?
Well, I'm not blaming anybody. I mean, it's a hard situation all the way around. It's hard for for everybody involved. I mean, the ICE agent, at first I didn't see the footage where, he was actually, he was actually being ran. I mean, I seen the bump of the car hitting his legs. And so in a flash like that, it's hard to say how you would react. From my understanding that he had been through that before, maybe dragged or something. And so, like I said, it's just a hard situation for everybody. Becca, she's a great person as well. I mean, I don't have any many enemies. I love everybody, and that's what the Bible tells us: love our neighbors as we love ourselves. But I think there's some bad choices. And the word says, for the wrath of God will come upon the children of disobedience. And, I don't blame ICE. I don't blame Rebecca. I don't blame Renee. I just wish that, if we're walking the Spirit of God, I don't think she would have been there.
There you go. There you go. He points out how the agent had been hit, had even been dragged in another incident earlier. Says, I don't blame, you just heard him. I don't blame ICE. I don't blame Rebecca. I don't blame Renee. I just wish, if we're walking in the Spirit of God, I don't think she would have been there. That's the way I look at it, which is true. It's pretty incredible. He can see that clearly. It is kind of a family member. He's an ex-father-in-law. But he is able to do it, and yet lefties and a lot of the media didn't even know her, and they can't do that. Yeah. Renee Good would probably be here right now if she hadn't made the choice to be there that day, not comply with the request to simply get out of her car, and not driven that car right into the ICE agent, which she did. It's not a Minnesota problem. It is a blue state problem. The left dodges, diversions, distract from the fact that the fraud is a feature of what we might call the blue model of government. There is a deeper, darker truth lurking behind this Somali-dominated, multi-billion-dollar Minnesota welfare fraud schemes that have drawn the attention of federal authorities and stoked absolute nationwide outrage. Might explain in part why for weeks Democrats, regime media, corporate media have all just simply been gaslighting everybody. And it upsets the hell out of me that these people are allowing themselves to be gaslit. Casting critics as bigots or racists, shooting the messengers who sent this very long neglected story viral, like Nick Shirley. And why now state, local leaders trying to turn Minneapolis into just an absolute powder keg? These dodges and diversions, all just a distraction from the fact that the fraud is a feature, not a consequence, it's a feature of what we'll call the blue model of government. Welfare state, increasingly open borders, at its core about political patronage, profiteering. Democrat survival depends on a political business model of vote buying via legal and illegal wealth distribution or redistribution. Progressives' paradigm reveals itself when you connect the dots that lead to the pilfering, the stealing of what's estimated to be about $9 billion. Yeah. Half of the $18 billion doled out across 14 welfare programs since 2018. And a city, Minneapolis, which is absolutely on the brink of insurrection. You start with the fact that Minnesota created one of the most generous welfare systems in the country. Not unique to the North Star state, it is marked by hugely inadequate safeguards, particularly in the administration of the federal to state programs. And then you get mass importation of Somali immigrants, no consideration for their nature, attendant risks, whether absorbing them into the American culture was in our national interest, and the fact that they don't want to be absorbed into our culture. It's called a melting pot because everybody comes in and then we melt into each other's cultures and we share and we adapt and we adopt. Refugees often rely exclusively on nothing but welfare. Somali population has proven extraordinarily they are absolutely, totally reliant on it. According to a recent Center for Immigration Studies and Analysis, 89% of Somali households have at least one family member on Medicaid. This very clannish population also comes from Marxist Islamic milieu and concentrated almost exclusively in urban areas. All of these factors make it particularly ripe voting bloc for the state's Democratic Farmer Labor Party to go after them. They're exactly the people. And in general, they're not that bright. Do you know there are surveyists who go around the world testing different populations' IQ levels. Do you know what Somali's IQ level in general is in the country? 68. 68. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Hey, you remember in the beginning we did the Pam Bondi story? I said I'm starting to warm up to Pam Bondi. I'll tell you what, I'm definitely warmed up to John Fetterman. When he ran, I thought, are you kidding me? This man can barely speak. Now, he's had a lot of problems since then. He's gone through a lot of issues, but he's overcome them in a big, big way. You would not today know that he had any kind of these issues compared to, what was it, just a couple of years ago when he was running with his hoodie and his shorts? It's getting to the point where Democrats may very well kick this guy out of the party. He has once again broken ranks with the Democratic Party, and this is a big one, folks. And they are really not going to like it. During an interview on Fox News, Fetterman said he has no problem with ICE rounding up criminal illegal immigrants and sending them right back to where they came from. Fetterman, with a graph in his hand, spoke about the border crisis under Biden, which saw monthly crossings skyrocketing to about 300,000. And he says that's unsustainable, adding it shouldn't be unreasonable to want to secure our border and do it in that way. Pennsylvania senator made it very clear he was speaking as a Democrat, suggesting the party ought to get with the program on border security. And then the conversation turned to ICE operations, specifically the recent incident in Minneapolis, of course. But Fetterman was not going to let one tragedy derail the entire conversation about criminal illegal immigrants. And he had a bunch of fresh statistics from the Washington Post showing that 67% of people currently being targeted by ICE have criminal charges, either pending or already on their record. Quote from Fetterman, that's more than 2/3, of the people now. Now, this, of course, is a fact that many on the left will simply not, they refuse to acknowledge. Round up all the criminals, deport them, he says. They shouldn't have been here, and they definitely have to go. He acknowledges not everybody picked up by ICE has committed crimes, but insists that two things can be true at the same time. You can oppose mass deportations of law-abiding, undocumented immigrants and still support the removal of those who have criminal records. My opinion, not that you want it, but I'm going to give it to you. If you are here illegally, you've broken the law, you're a criminal. Bye-bye. He said he strongly rejects the extreme on the other side when it comes to immigration enforcement. He doesn't want to see more incidents like what happened in Minneapolis, but he is not buying into the narrative that ICE operations target criminal illegal aliens are somehow beyond the pale. He even took aim at his fellow Democrats for their selective outrage, pointing out the hypocrisy of their pearl clutching over deporters. He says, I watched you earlier in your show. You just pointed out President Obama deported millions of people, and there wasn't having the same kind of outrage here, here as from the Democrats. Fetterman said, it's a valid point the Democrats conveniently ignore because all they do is reflexively in opposition to whatever Trump does. And yes, it's true, Obama deported millions during his regime. But somehow that doesn't seem to spark the same kind of outrage in the left, like what we're seeing nowadays. But man, I'm telling you, Fetterman and his willingness to break with the Democratic orthodoxy on immigration, especially in the wake of what happened in Minneapolis. It is a rare moment of honesty in this party that I don't think we have ever seen in the past, how many decades? This Fetterman guy is calling it like he sees it, and his message is very simple. Secure the border, deport the criminals, stop acting like wanting basic immigration enforcement makes you some kind of monster. And whether it's Democrats, party members will listen, well, that is unlikely and an entirely different question. But at least this senator, Senator John Fetterman, seems to understand that most Americans think it's too much to ask that people who came here illegally and then committed crimes get sent packing right back to where they came from. If I'm not mistaken, that's exactly why we elected this president. I'm nearly sure of it. Oh my, oh my, oh my. All right. Let's see, about a month and a couple days from now, it will be the first day of Chinese New Year. Now, I know here in America that's not that big a deal unless you live in one of the Chinatowns, New York, San Francisco. But trust me, it's a huge deal. Chinese New Year, every year has a different zodiac symbol attached to it. I forget what this past year was, but this year coming up is the year of the horse. In fact, they get very specific. If I'm not mistaken, it's the year of the fire horse. That also means something I don't know. We Americans, however, absolutely love our horses almost as much as we love our dogs. Not that much, but almost. The bond we share, and I had a horse growing up. I did. It was an old chestnut mare named Daisy. She was amazing. Got her from my grandfather. I had the chestnut mare, and my sister Kathy had a strawberry roan. You look that up on Google. Go to images. Check out. Matter of fact, this was such an absolutely brilliant horse. It looked Roman. Let me see if I can find a good image of one of these things. Yeah, this is kind of like it. You can see some of them here. Look at that. This is a strawberry roan. Absolutely amazing animal. Check that out. Look at that. Insane. Beautiful. Look at that beautiful horse. That was my sister's horse, and I had an old chestnut mare with a big belly. But I would ride her. She was great. We loved her to death. And anyway, we have a specific and very special bond with horses in this country. They symbolize beauty, strength, freedom. Images fill our art, our advertising. We name our cars and our sports teams after them, like the Broncos. We owe them a lot more than just a little admiration, though. We actually owe them just about everything. Modern civilization and the America we know today, without horses, there's a good chance it wouldn't exist. Historian Timothy Weingart observes in The Horse dominated every facet of human life and shaped the very scope of human ambition. We still live among It's Galloping Shadows. The Year of the Horse begins Chinese New Year, February 17th, and offers a moment to ask whether we are honoring the debt we owe to horses, whether we're treating them with the respect they deserve, and they do. Horses woven into our American story, our nation literally built on their backs. The history of America runs in horses' blood, from the horses' indigenous people integrated into their culture long before any of us Europeans got here. Working breeds like Morgans, standard breeds that plowed the fields, carried the settlers west. And then the Mustangs, still surviving today in some remote corners of the West, powered the Pony Express, captured from the American West, sent overseas to battle in World War I and other European wars. Today, their grazing helps restore degraded landscapes, reduces the wildfire risk, regenerates soils, even makes surface water available in and around some areas, which supports hundreds of other species. And see what I'm getting at here? We owe the horses a lot. Despite this history, our enduring bond with this amazing creature, federal policy is sadly failing horses. Whether abused in show rings or rounded up from public lands and shipped to be slaughtered, highly intelligent, sensitive animals, they endure suffering that is sadly entirely preventable. Tennessee walking horses, deliberately injured with caustic chemicals, chains, mechanical devices they put on their hooves to cause pain, induce the exaggerated high-stepping gait, which is prized in horse shows. They don't do that naturally. They do that because we, idiot humans, put these devices on these horses that cause immense amount of pain to make them do that high stepping that we see. There's a, oh, yay, not yay. Idiots. This practice known as soaring was prohibited back in 1970, but there has been very little, if any, enforcement. Relied on industry self-policing, and you know how that goes. Nearly 20,000 American horses every year, many abandoned by the humans that they loyally served, are shipped across the border to Canada and Mexico for slaughter. Yeah. Grueling transport, cramped trucks, inadequate rest and food and water on journeys, sometimes of over 1,000 miles. Foreign slaughter plants, they face absolutely brutal deaths, butchered into horse meat for overseas markets in Europe, Asia. America's wild horses federally protected as living symbols of the history and the spirit of the American West. They are captured by the thousands each year in roundups using helicopters. Despite proven, cost-effective fertility control alternatives, they can't be bothered. Rounded up horses crowded into holding facilities, which, by the way, you and I are paying for, taxpayers. A lot of them are going to spend their lives in confinement, some adopted into good homes, but far too many wind up in that slaughter pipeline, which is horrifically bad. Horses, among the most intelligent, sensitive, intuitive animals on the planet, remain loyal to us even when we do not return that favor, sadly. The Year of the Horse calls for us to finally honor that loyalty. And whether or not you believe in Chinese New Year and the zodiac signs and all, you have got to believe that this country was in every way built on the backs of our beautiful horses. A lot of animal welfare initiatives by the Trump administration, bipartisan action in Congress, We do have a commitment to end this cruelty, but we need to get behind it. We need to show our support. This momentum creates an opening to pass the Prevent All Soaring Tactics Act, safeguard American forgotten equines, and to end horse slaughter, the Wild Horse Protection Act, which will end these roundups being done by helicopter. Theodore Roosevelt National Park Wild Horse Protection Act. All of these acts that will help to protect our magnificent American horses. Administration can also get in gear immediately, strengthen the enforcement of existing laws. They do exist. The laws exist. They're just not enforced, and they need to be. They're not fringe causes. They're not partisan issues. Both sides of the aisle can get together on this. There is no doubt about it. This reflects the core of American values. Stewardship of our national heritage, fiscal responsibility, and above all, respect for the animals that helped build this country, America. This debt is way overdue, and it is way past time that we paid it. The year of the horse. All right. This is a great one. Did you see this? This absolutely adorable little boy stole the show during President Trump's signing of a whole milk, I assume it was some sort of executive order, but the U.S. government finally admitted that full-fat foods, which we love, are actually good for you if you missed it, and particularly whole milk. On Wednesday, Trump signed a related act that will benefit school kids across the U.S., signed it into law, the Whole Milk for Healthy Kids Act of 2025, introduced by Senator Roger Marshall, Republican from Kansas, last year, got bipartisan support, passed both chambers of Congress unanimously. How about that? It reverses that moron Barack Obama-era restriction that only allowed federally supported school meal programs to serve fat-free and low-fat milk options. Blech. Seriously. Great news for kids. Under the new laws, schools can now offer a much wider range of milk choices, including flavored and unflavored, organic, and conventional, whole, 2%, 1% skim, and lactose-free milk. Supporters say this expanded menu much better reflects current nutrition science and aligns school offerings with what families very commonly consume at home. You get good, fresh, whole milk at home, and then you go to school and you got to drink that crap. Farmers have been fighting for this for 15 years. A common sense, bipartisan bill ensures that kids will have access to important vitamins, proteins, other nutrients, and of course, all of that helps to support our dairy farmers. Standing next to the president when he signed this bill, this little guy, who is 6, 7 years old, we don't know yet, but he introduced himself. He said, "My name is Jesse, and I'm 6 years old. I'm 7 years old, and I want to be an engineer." Well, he had a little more to say because he knows the benefits of milk, and he educated the crowd. Take a look at this.
My name is Jesse. I am 6 years old. I am 7 years old. I want to be an engineer when I grow up. I am a first grader. I also know where does milk come from.
Good job. Where does it come from?
So first farmers milk it, and then next they put it into a coal, tank, and then to take the germs out, they put it very hot, and then they put it back in the cold tank, and then they hauled it to somewhere that is cold in a big refrigerator.
How about that? 6 and or 7 years old, educating the Trump team on exactly the benefits of milk and how you get it. First, you take it out of the cow. Oh, man. I love it. All right, we got one more for you before we go and move along here. And it just shows even more proof to the fact that I truly believe that in our times, our greatest times of need, God sends angels. This, and I love stories like this because it flies right in the face of all these cop-hating morons out there. This cop is an amazing cop who went way above and beyond. And truly, he is an angel. Take a look.
What's with the attitude?
We're not allowed to have bad days.
No, everybody's entitled to a bad day. Like I said, but
over on a day is not fun.
no, I can understand that completely. I'm trying to be nice and courteous to you, and like I'm getting a lot of heat. I understand you're having a day, so I'm not trying to make it any worse. This is a warning ticket for you to slow down. That's it. No court date, no fines, no nothing. I'll ask you to pay attention to the speed limit signs, get to where you're getting to safely. Are you good?
No.
No?
Anxiety is killing me.
Is there anything I can do for you? You sure? You need a hug?
Yeah.
Come here. Come here.
I moved down here to get away from an abusive relationship. And I'm clean and I'm sober for 4 months.
Take a deep breath, all right? Everything's gonna be okay. Okay? You're on the right path. You're doing what you're supposed to be doing now, okay? Don't lose that hope.
Don't lose that hope. Wow. A cop who doesn't know this lady from Adam or Eve, but knew what she needed. Sometimes that's all we do need. It's a bit of a hug. Amazing. Great story. Okay, my friends, we're done. Thank you very much. Thank you for the birthday wishes. Really appreciate that. It's hell to get old. No, I didn't mention how old I was. That's on purpose. I'm 104. Yeah. All right. We're going to be back here again tomorrow for the Friday edition of the Jay Sheldon Show. Please help to support the show. Go over to our Patreon account. That's the new top link in our show notes. Join up as a member. It just costs like $5 a month. Cost of buying me a cup of coffee basically every month. We really appreciate that. It does help to support the show a lot. And also all of our great sponsors, Patriot Mobile, Blackout Coffee, NordVPN. They're all there. And check them out. Make a purchase. Help to support what we do here. I will see you again tomorrow.